The stars outside the viewport of the asterisk U.S. horizon asterisk shimmered like tiny diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas. Inside the ship, the hum of machinery and soft beeps of control panels created a steady rhythm that had become second nature to the crew. Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, as he stared out into the void. It was supposed to be another routine mission, charting unexplored sectors of space, but something felt different today. Maybe it was the faint tension in the air, or the way Lieutenant Lisa Harper kept glancing at her sensors with furrowed brows. "Captain," Lisa finally said, breaking the silence. Her voice carried just enough urgency to make everyone turn their heads. "We're picking up something unusual ahead. Multiple contacts, large signatures. They're not asteroids." Daniel stepped closer to her station, his eyes narrowing. "How many?" "At least 50. No, wait, more than 100 now. They're spreading out." She tapped a few commands, and a holographic display flickered to life above the console, showing countless dots forming a massive cluster. Whatever they weren't moving randomly. There was purpose in their formation. Chief Engineer Ryan Scott leaned over from his seat nearby. "That's no rogue fleet. Someone's organized this. Should we go silent?" Before Daniel could answer, the communications officer, Ensign Jacob Myers, called out, "Sir, we're being hailed. Audio and visual transmission incoming." "Put it on screen," Daniel ordered, stepping back toward the main monitor. The crew braced themselves, unsure what, or who, they might see. The image resolved slowly, revealing a figure so absurdly dramatic that several people on the bridge struggled not to laugh. Sitting, or rather, looming, on an ornate throne surrounded by glowing lights and swirling smoke effects was a man who looked like he'd stepped straight out of a fantasy movie. His robes sparkled with embedded jewels, and his crown was so tall and elaborate it seemed impossible for him to hold his head up. He wore heavy makeup, including eyeliner thick enough to rival any rock star. And when he spoke, his deep voice boomed through the speakers. "I am Emperor Calvorn," he declared, throwing his arms wide, as if expecting applause. "Supreme ruler of the Galactic Empire, conqueror of stars, and bringer of order to the cosmos." For a moment, there was dead silence on the bridge. Then came the muffled snorts. Lisa pressed her lips together tightly, her cheeks puffing out as she fought back laughter. Ryan coughed loudly into his hand, disguising what sounded suspiciously like a giggle. Even Captain Carter had to blink rapidly to compose himself before responding. "Emperor Calvorn," Daniel began, his tone carefully neutral despite the corners of his mouth twitching. "This is Captain Daniel Carter of the United Earth Fleet Vessel Horizon *. To what do we owe the honor?" Cale leaned forward slightly, his expression one of exaggerated seriousness. "You are trespassing in Imperial territory. Surrender your ship immediately, and you may yet earn my mercy." Lisa raised her hand to cover her mouth, pretending to adjust her headset while stifling another laugh. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Ryan mouthing the word "crown" to Jacob, who bit his lip to keep from grinning. Cale didn't seem to notice, or perhaps he chose to ignore, the barely contained amusement radiating from the humans. "We mean no disrespect, Your Majesty," Daniel replied diplomatically, though his voice wavered ever so slightly. "We were unaware this region belonged to your empire. Might we discuss terms peacefully?" Cale let out a booming laugh that echoed dramatically, making half the crew jump. "Very well, Captain Carter. I shall grant you an audience aboard my flagship, the Celestial Throne *. Come unarmed, and prepare to witness the splendor of true power." As the transmission cut off, the bridge erupted into quiet chuckles. Ryan leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. Did anyone else catch the smoke machine? What is this guy, some kind of intergalactic magician? Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. I don't know whether to be terrified or ask for his fashion designer's number. Daniel cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the situation. All right, People, let's focus. This might be funny, but we're dealing with an unknown civilization here. Prep a shuttle. We'll meet them, and try not to embarrass yourselves too much." But as the crew returned to their tasks, it was clear. Humanity's first encounter with the Galactic Empire wasn't going to be remembered for its diplomacy. It would be remembered for one thing: how hard it was not to laugh. The shuttle carrying Captain Daniel Carter and his team drifted silently toward the Celestial Throne *, the flagship of Emperor Calvorn. From a distance, the vessel looked like something out of a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. Its surface gleamed with gold plating and intricate carvings that seemed to serve no practical purpose other than to dazzle. Massive statues of winged creatures jutted out from the hull, their eyes glowing faintly as if alive. The ship was so over the top that even Chief Engineer Ryan Scott, who had seen his fair share of strange designs, couldn't help but mutter under his breath. "This thing looks like a theme park ride," he said, shaking his head. "I half expect confetti to shoot out when we dock." Lieutenant Lisa Harper shot him a warning glance. "Ryan, try not to say stuff like that where they can hear you. We're supposed to be diplomatic, remember?" "Diplomatic? Sure," Ryan replied with a smirk, "but I didn't sign up for this much glitter." As the shuttle approached, the massive doors of the Celestial Throne opened with a dramatic hiss, revealing a docking bay filled with rows of armored soldiers. Each soldier wore a helmet shaped like an animal's head: eagles, lions, wolves, all crafted with such detail it was hard to take them seriously. One of the soldiers stepped forward, raising a hand in what was clearly meant to be an imposing gesture. Instead, it just made Lisa bite her lip to keep from smiling. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," the soldier announced in a voice that tried, and failed, to sound menacing. "Follow me to the presence of His Majesty, Emperor Calvorn." The team exchanged quick glances before stepping off the shuttle. As they walked through the corridors of the flagship, they couldn't help but notice how everything seemed designed to overwhelm. The walls were covered in murals depicting epic battles and heroic deeds, all featuring Emperor Kale at the center. Chandeliers hung low, dripping with crystals that refracted light into rainbows across the floor. Even the air smelled faintly of perfume, as though someone had gone out of their way to make sure the entire ship felt luxurious. When they finally reached the throne room, it became clear that Cal had spared no expense in making an impression. The Emperor himself sat on a raised platform, surrounded by swirling fog and spotlights that illuminated him from every angle. His robes shimmered with colors that shifted depending on how you looked at them, and his crown now featured blinking lights that pulsed in time with his movements. Beside him stood two attendants fanning him with giant peacock feathers, while a third held a tray of what appeared to be snacks. Kale rose from his throne, spreading his arms wide in greeting. "Ah, the humans have arrived. Gaze upon my majesty and tremble." Lisa nearly choked trying to hold back her laughter. She glanced at Jacob Myers, whose shoulders were shaking slightly as he fought to keep a straight face. Even Daniel Carter, usually the picture of professionalism, had to clear his throat twice before speaking. "Your Majesty," Daniel began, bowing slightly. "Thank you for granting us an audience. We are honored to stand before such greatness." Kale nodded approvingly, clearly pleased with the compliment. "You show wisdom, Captain Carter. Now tell me, what brings your primitive species so far from your insignificant planet?" "Primitive? Insignificant?" Ryan raised an eyebrow, but wisely kept quiet. Lisa, however, leaned forward slightly, adopting a tone of exaggerated curiosity. "Forgive me, Your Majesty, but may I ask about your crown? It's truly magnificent. Did you design it yourself?" Kel's chest puffed up with pride. "Indeed, I did. A masterpiece forged by the finest artisans in the galaxy. Notice the lights. They synchronize with my heartbeat, symbolizing the pulse of my empire." "That's incredible," Lisa said, managing to sound genuinely impressed despite the absurdity. "It must weigh quite a bit, though. How do you manage to wear it without tipping over?" For a moment, Cale looked taken aback, as if no one had ever questioned the practicality of his attire. Recovering quickly, he waved a hand dismissively. Strength is a gift bestowed only upon those worthy of ruling. But enough of idle chatter. Let us discuss your surrender. Jacob, who had been quietly observing, suddenly piped up. Surrender? Oh, right, yes. About that. He hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. Would it be okay if we thought about it for a little while longer? Maybe took some notes. Cale frowned, clearly confused by the request. Notes? For what purpose? Well, you know, Jacob continued, gesturing vaguely. We want to make sure we get all the details right. This is kind of a big decision for us. Daniel stepped in smoothly, placing a calming hand on Jacob's shoulder. What my colleague means, Your Majesty, is that we need time to fully appreciate the gravity of joining your illustrious empire. Perhaps you could give us a tour of your ship. Show us firsthand why your rule is unmatched. Cal's frown melted into a smug grin. An excellent idea. Come, behold the wonders of my domain, and let your minds be enlightened. As the group followed Cal out of the throne room, Ryan whispered to Lisa, If he starts singing, I'm jumping out the nearest airlock. Lisa stifled a laugh. Just don't trip over any of those caves he keeps leaving behind. Despite the overwhelming spectacle, one thing was becoming clear. Humanity's first contact with the Galactic Empire wasn't going to end in war or conflict. If anything, it was shaping up to be the most entertaining misunderstanding in galactic history. The tour of the Celestial Throne began with Emperor Cal Vorn leading the way, his long robes sweeping dramatically across the floor as though he were starring in a play. Every few steps, he paused to gesture grandly at something. A mural, a statue, or even a particularly ornate light fixture, as if each detail held profound significance. Captain Daniel Carter and his team followed closely behind, doing their best to maintain straight faces while silently marveling at the sheer extravagance of it all. This, Cale announced, stopping in front of a massive painting that depicted him standing triumphantly atop a mountain of defeated enemies, is my greatest victory, the Battle of Zoreth Prime. Lieutenant Lisa Harper tilted her head slightly, studying the artwork. Wow, Your Majesty. That must have been quite the fight. Were those tentacles? She pointed to one corner of the painting where strange, writhing shapes could be seen. Cale nodded gravely. Yes, Lieutenant. Tentacled beasts from the void. They sought to destroy us, but I smote them with the power of my will alone. He struck a pose, raising an imaginary sword above his head. Their defeat marked the beginning of my reign. Ryan Scott coughed into his hand, disguising what sounded suspiciously like a snort. Jacob Myers quickly elbowed him, though he wasn't much better at hiding his amusement. Even Daniel had to blink a few times to keep his composure intact. As they moved on, Cale led them to a dining hall filled with tables groaning under the weight of food. It was clear someone had gone to great lengths to impress the humans, but the result was more comical than appetizing. There were hamburgers so large they required both hands just to lift, spaghetti noodles thicker than fingers, and fruit platters featuring oversized replicas of Earth produce. One dish appeared to be an entire roasted pig wearing a tiny chef's hat. Please, sample our finest cuisine, Cale invited, gesturing toward the feast. These delicacies are crafted by the galaxy's most renowned chefs. Lisa hesitated before picking up a fork and poking at a piece of pasta. It looks amazing, she said diplomatically, though her tone suggested otherwise. Did you say these chefs are from Earth? Cale frowned slightly. No, of course not. Why would they be from your primitive planet? But we studied your culinary traditions closely when designing this menu. Ryan picked up a hamburger bun the size of a dinner plate and turned it over curiously. Close, huh? I think they missed the mark on the proportions, though. This thing could feed a whole crew. Jacob grabbed a grape, only to discover it was nearly the size of a tennis ball. He stared at it for a moment before popping it into his mouth anyway. The juice squirted out explosively, causing him to sputter and choke. Lisa patted his back helpfully while trying not to laugh. Despite the chaos, Daniel managed to steer the conversation back on track. "Your Majesty, this is truly impressive. Tell us about the technology that powers your empire. How do you achieve such unity among so many worlds?" Kale straightened proudly, clearly eager to share. "Ah, yes, our technology. Behold." He pressed a button on a nearby console, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing diagrams of sleek spaceships, towering cities, and glowing energy cores. As he explained how everything worked, his descriptions grew increasingly theatrical, complete with sweeping gestures and dramatic pauses. "And here," he concluded, pointing to a glowing orb in the center of the display, "is the heart of the Empire, a device of unimaginable power, capable of bending reality itself to my will." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Reality bending, huh? So does that mean you can fix bad haircuts too?" Lisa shot him another warning look, but Kale didn't seem offended. Instead, he chuckled deeply. "Ah, humans, you have such wit. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all." By the time the tour ended, the human delegation had gathered enough information to piece together a clearer picture of the Galactic Empire. While the presentation was undeniably flashy, much of the underlying technology seemed less advanced than they had initially feared. More importantly, they noticed subtle signs of discontent among the Imperial citizens, whispers of rebellion, tired eyes, and forced smiles. It was becoming clear that Cal's rule relied more on spectacle than substance. Back aboard the shuttle, as they prepared to return to the Horizon Asterisk, Ryan summed up their thoughts perfectly. "So let me get this straight. This guy rules half the galaxy because he has good lighting and knows how to throw a party." Daniel smiled faintly. "Looks that way. But don't underestimate him. Sometimes appearances are the strongest weapon of all." Lisa nodded, still holding back laughter. "Well, whatever happens next, I'm just glad we brought popcorn." Back aboard the US Horizon Asterisk, the mood on the bridge was a mix of amusement and quiet tension. The crew gathered around the main table in the briefing room, replaying snippets of their encounter with Emperor Calvorn. Every time someone mentioned his dramatic poses or overly elaborate speeches, laughter bubbled up despite their best efforts to stay serious. "Did you see the way he spun around when he talked about the heart of the Empire?" Chief Engineer Ryan Scott asked, mimicking Cal's exaggerated twirl with his arms wide. "I thought he was going to take off like a helicopter." Lieutenant Lisa Harper snickered, leaning back in her chair. "And don't forget the snacks. I still can't believe they served us hamburgers bigger than my head. Who eats like that?" Captain Daniel Carter cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation back to business. "As funny as all this is, we need to focus. What did we learn from today's visit?" Ensign Jacob Myers pulled out his notes, flipping through pages filled with scribbles and doodles, most of which looked suspiciously like caricatures of Kale. "Well, for starters, their tech isn't as advanced as it seems. Sure, they've got fancy holograms and glowing orbs, but nothing we haven't seen before. Their empire runs more on showmanship than actual power." Lisa nodded, adding her observations. "Exactly. And there's something else. Did you notice how some of the people on the ship acted? Not everyone looked happy. Some of the guards seemed bored, and a couple of attendants were practically rolling their eyes during Cal's big speech." Daniel leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "That could mean dissent. If Cal's rule is built on theatrics, then maybe his grip isn't as strong as he wants us to think. We might be able to use that to our advantage." Ryan raised a hand lazily. "So what's the plan? Do we keep laughing at him until he gets mad and declares war? Because honestly, I'd pay good money to see that crown fall off during battle." "No," Daniel said firmly, though a hint of a smile tugged at his lips. "We'll play along for now. Let him think we're impressed. Flattery works wonders, even on egos as big as his. But while we're doing that, we'll gather intel, find weaknesses, identify allies among the locals, and figure out how much of this empire is real versus smoke and mirrors. Jacob grinned. You mean Operation Butter Up the Emperor? Something like that, Daniel replied dryly. But remember, subtlety is key. We don't want to push too hard or give ourselves away. This has to look natural. The next day, the humans returned to the celestial throne for another round of meetings. As they entered the throne room, Kale greeted them with yet another grandiose display. This time, he wore a new robe covered in sequins that sparkled so brightly it was almost blinding. His crown had been upgraded as well, now featuring tiny spinning orbs that orbited it like miniature planets. Ah, my esteemed guests, Kale boomed, spreading his arms wide. Have you come to pledge your allegiance? Daniel stepped forward, bowing slightly. Your Majesty, after witnessing the splendor of your empire, we are humbled. Before we make any decisions, however, we wish to express our admiration properly. Cal's eyes lit up with delight. Admiration. Speak freely, Captain Carter. Lisa stepped forward next, holding up a small plaque she'd prepared. It read, Asterisk to Emperor Calvorn, Supreme Architect of Cosmic Majesty Asterisk. On behalf of Earth, we present this token of our respect. Your greatness inspires us. Kale accepted the plaque with a flourish, examining it closely. Magnificent. Truly, you honor me. He turned to his attendants. Take this to the Hall of Eternal Glory. It shall be displayed alongside my other treasures. Ryan bit the inside of his cheek to keep from laughing. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Jacob pretending to stifle a cough. Even Daniel struggled to maintain a neutral expression. Throughout the meeting, the humans continued their act, showering Kale with compliments so over the top they bordered on ridiculous. They praised his wisdom, his strength, and even the way his voice echoed through the halls. Each word seemed to inflate Kale's ego further, making him strut and preen like a peacock. By the end of the session, Kale was practically glowing with self-satisfaction. You have proven yourselves worthy, humans, he declared, waving the jeweled scepter dramatically. Perhaps one day, you may serve as advisors in my court. As the team left the flagship, Ryan let out a long breath. Well, that was exhausting. I didn't think it was possible to lay it on thicker without drowning. Lisa smirked. You should have heard yourself calling his crown a beacon of universal enlightenment. I thought that was pretty good. Ryan shot back, grinning. Daniel shook his head, though he couldn't suppress a chuckle. It worked, though. While he's busy basking in praise, we'll dig deeper, keep gathering information, and let's find those cracks in his empire. One thing's for sure, we're not done playing along just yet. Despite the silliness of it all, the mission was working. Humanity had found its edge against the Galactic Empire, and it wasn't firepower, it was wit. The next phase of humanity's plan unfolded carefully, like a game of chess played with exaggerated flair. The crew of the US Horizon knew they couldn't rely on brute force or direct confrontation, not when dealing with someone as self-absorbed as Emperor Calvorn. Instead, they leaned into their secret weapon, humor laced with flattery, delivered so smoothly that Kel would never suspect he was being played. Over the following days, the humans returned to the celestial throne multiple times, each visit more ridiculous than the last. Captain Daniel Carter led these encounters with practiced charm, ensuring every interaction left Kale feeling invincible and thoroughly entertained. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Lisa Harper and Ensign Jacob Myers worked behind the scenes, gathering intelligence about the Empire's inner workings. Chief Engineer Ryan Scott stayed aboard the Horizon analyzing data and preparing contingencies in case things went sideways. During one particularly memorable meeting, Kale decided to showcase his Empire's latest technological marvel, a massive laser cannon powered by glowing crystals. The weapon sat atop a platform surrounded by swirling mist and pulsing lights, looking less like a tool of destruction and more like a prop from a sci-fi movie set. Behold, Kale announced, his voice booming through the chamber. The Annihilator Prime. With but a single blast, it can reduce an entire planet to ashes. Daniel raised an eyebrow, pretending to be awestruck. Incredible, Your Majesty. Truly unmatched. But tell me, does it come with a warranty? You know how delicate technology can be. Kale laughed heartily, clearly missing the jab. Fear not, Captain Carter. This weapon is perfection incarnate. Watch as I demonstrate its power. He gestured dramatically, and a technician activated the cannon. A low hum filled the room as energy surged through the crystals. For a moment, it seemed like the demonstration would go off without a hitch. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of firing a devastating beam, the cannon emitted a series of comical sputters and flashes, culminating in a harmless burst of colorful sparks. The humans exchanged quick glances, biting their lips to avoid laughing out loud. Kale, however, looked mortified. His face turned red beneath his thick makeup, and he snapped at the technicians. What is the meaning of this? Fix it immediately. Lisa stepped forward, her tone dripping with fake concern. Your Majesty, perhaps the cosmic energies are interfering with your magnificent device. Such power must attract all sorts of disturbances. Yes, Daniel added quickly. It's a testament to your brilliance that even the universe itself struggles to contain your creations. Kale puffed up at the compliment, though his embarrassment lingered. Of course, only my genius could create such a mighty weapon. Leave this matter to me. I shall ensure its perfection. As the team filed out of the demonstration hall, Ryan greeted them over the communicator. So, did the super laser blow up a moon yet? Nope, Jacob replied with a grin. Just made rainbow confetti instead. Pretty sure we're safer than we thought. Despite the comedic failures, the humans continued to gather valuable information. Through casual conversations with Imperial officers and attendants, Lisa discovered growing unrest among the Empire's citizens. Many resented Cal's extravagance and heavy taxes, which funded his lavish lifestyle rather than improving their lives. Some whispered of rebellion, though no organized movement had emerged yet. One evening, while exploring a quieter section of the flagship, Jacob stumbled upon a group of disenchanted workers huddled near a maintenance bay. They eyed him warily at first, but after some gentle probing, they opened up. One man, named Torin, explained how Cal's rule drained resources from outer colonies, leaving them impoverished. We've heard stories about Earth, Torin said cautiously, about how humans value fairness and progress. Is it true? Jacob hesitated before nodding. It is. And if you're willing to stand against tyranny, we might be able to help. Back aboard the Horizon the crew discussed what Jacob had learned. Daniel paced the bridge, deep in thought. If we can unite these rebels, we could weaken the Empire from within. But we'll need to act carefully. Cal won't give up his throne without a fight. Ryan leaned back in his chair, smirking. Good thing we've got a head start on making him look ridiculous. Lisa smiled faintly. Mockery aside, this changes everything. If we play our cards right, we might bring down the Galactic Empire, not with weapons, but with wit and teamwork. For now, the plan remained clear. Keep flattering Kale, exploit his ego, and quietly rally those who longed for change. Humanity's mission was far from over, but one thing was certain. They were proving that laughter could be just as powerful as any weapon. The human strategy of flattery and subtle sabotage was gaining momentum, but Captain Daniel Carter knew they needed to take things further. The rebels Jacob had met aboard the Celestial Throne were eager for action, but organizing them into a cohesive force would require finesse and a little more spectacle. If Cal thrived on drama, then humanity would give him a performance he wouldn't forget. Here's what we're going to do, Daniel announced during a briefing on the Horizon. We'll stage a mock battle against the Empire's forces, a show so convincing that Cal will believe he's under attack. Meanwhile, the rebels can use the chaos to rally support across the galaxy. Lisa Harper raised an eyebrow. A fake battle. How exactly are we supposed to pull that off without getting ourselves blown up? Ryan Scott grinned, leaning forward in his seat. Leave that part to me. We'll rig up some holograms and sound effects. Make it look like we got a whole armada ready to take him down. Trust me, this guy won't know what hit him. Jacob nodded enthusiastically. And while he's distracted, I'll work with the rebels to spread the word. Once people see Cal's weakness, they'll be more willing to rise up. With the plan in place, the crew sprang into action. Ryan spent hours in the engineering bay, programming drones to project images of massive warships surrounding the celestial throne. He added glowing trails and explosive flashes to sell the illusion, complete with booming sound effects that echoed ominously through space. Lissa coordinated with communications, crafting messages designed to unnerve the Imperial fleet, and Daniel prepared to lead the charge, ensuring every move played into Cal's inflated sense of importance. When the day arrived, the US Horizon positioned itself just outside the Empire's defensive perimeter. As the simulated fleet appeared on scanners, alarms blared throughout the celestial throne. Cal stormed onto the bridge, his sequined robe billowing dramatically behind him. What is this treachery? He roared, pointing at the holographic ships closing in around his flagship. How dare these primitive humans challenge my might? His advisors scrambled to respond, their voices overlapping in panic. One officer shouted about incoming torpedoes, while another reported phantom shields collapsing under imaginary fire. Through it all, Cal remained convinced that humanity had unleashed its full military power against him. They seek to destroy us, Cal bellowed, striking a heroic pose. But they shall learn. The Galactic Empire does not fall so easily. Meanwhile, hidden within the Empire's ranks, the rebels seized the opportunity. Using encrypted channels provided by Jacob, they'd broadcast messages to oppressed planets, urging citizens to resist. Videos of the battle circulated widely, showing Cal's supposedly invincible fleet struggling against the human assault. The truth, that it was all smoke and mirrors, didn't matter. What mattered was the perception. Emperor Calvorn wasn't untouchable after all. Back aboard the Horizon the crew watched as their plan unfolded. Lissa monitored communications, noting spikes in rebel activity across multiple systems. Ryan adjusted the holograms in real time, keeping the illusion alive as long as possible. Even Daniel allowed himself a rare smile. This might actually work, Lisa said, shaking her head in disbelief. Who knew we could bring down an empire with a few lights and sound effects? Ryan chuckled. Hey, don't underestimate the power of good special effects. Hollywood figured that out ages ago. As the battle reached its climax, Cal grew increasingly frantic. His crown tilted precariously as he paced the bridge, shouting orders that no one seemed able to follow. Finally, in a moment of desperation, he ordered his personal escape pod, a golden throne-shaped vessel, to be prepared for launch. I will not perish here, he declared, climbing into the pod with as much dignity as he could muster. Retreat. Regroup. We shall return stronger than ever. But as the pod detached from the flagship and sped away, something went wrong. Sparks flew from the control panel, and the engine sputtered. Instead of soaring triumphantly into the stars, the pod floated aimlessly, leaving Cal trapped inside his gilded cage. The rebels wasted no time. Dozens of ships descended upon the celestial throne boarding the flagship and arresting key members of Cal's regime. Messages poured in from planets declaring independence, signaling the collapse of the once mighty Galactic Empire. On the Horizon the crew gathered on the bridge to watch the aftermath. Jacob let out a low whistle. Well, that was easier than I expected. Daniel crossed his arms, his expression thoughtful. Easy. No, but effective? Absolutely. Sometimes the best way to fight arrogance is with humility. And maybe a little laughter. As the dust settled, humanity found itself at the center of a new coalition, united by wit, courage, and the shared memory of an emperor who couldn't quite keep his crown straight. With Emperor Kel Vorn stranded in his malfunctioning escape pod, the Galactic Empire began to crumble faster than anyone could have imagined. The rebels, emboldened by the sight of their self-proclaimed supreme ruler stuck in a golden throne-shaped vessel, wasted no time dismantling the remnants of his regime. Across the Empire's vast territories, planets declared independence, citizens tore down statues of Kale, and former loyalists scrambled to distance themselves from the disgraced emperor. Back aboard the U.S. Horizon Asterisk, Captain Daniel Carter watched the unfolding events with a mix of satisfaction and disbelief. "I never thought we'd bring down an empire with holograms and bad engineering," he muttered, shaking his head. Ryan Scott grinned as he leaned against a console. "Hey, don't knock it. If anything, this proves brains beat bling every time. Who needs giant lasers when you've got creativity?" Lisa Harper chuckled, scrolling through reports of uprisings across the galaxy. "It's kind of poetic, really. All that glitter and gold couldn't save him when push came to shove." Meanwhile, Cal's escape pod had become something of a cosmic joke, floating aimlessly in space, its systems failing one by one. The pod broadcast frantic messages begging for rescue. "This is Emperor Kel Vorn," he shouted into the communicator, his voice losing its usual grandeur. "Attend to me at once. My crown, it slits." The rebels intercepted the transmission and shared it widely, turning Cal's plight into a viral sensation among the newly liberated planets. Memes of his tilting crown and desperate pleas flooded communication channels, further eroding whatever respect he might have had left. Jacob Myers monitored the chatter, laughing at some of the more creative edits people had made to Cal's broadcasts. In one version, cheerful music played in the background while animated sparkles surrounded his image. In another, someone added subtitles mocking his increasingly unhinged demands. "Looks like the galaxy doesn't take kindly to being ruled by a guy who wears blinking lights on his head," Jacob said, shaking his head. Eventually, a rebel ship located Kel's pod and towed it back to the Celestial Throne Asterisk. When the hatch opened, Kel stumbled out looking disheveled and defeated. His once immaculate robes were wrinkled, his makeup smeared, and his crown, now slightly dented, sat crookedly on his head. The rebels greeted him not with fear or awe, but with stifled laughter. "You?" Kel stammered, pointing an accusing finger at the crowd. "You dare mock me? I am your emperor." A young woman stepped forward, her arms crossed. "Not anymore. You're under arrest for corruption, oppression, and wasting resources on ridiculous outfits." Kel sputtered indignantly, but there was no one left to defend him. His advisors had fled, his soldiers had surrendered, and even his own escape pod seemed eager to abandon him. Defeated, he allowed himself to be led away, muttering under his breath about betrayal and bad craftsmanship. In the days that followed, the humans worked closely with the rebels to stabilize the liberated planets. Without Cal's oppressive rule, the galaxy began to heal. Trade routes reopened, communities rebuilt, and hope spread like wildfire. The coalition formed quickly, with representatives from dozens of worlds coming together to create a new government based on cooperation rather than domination. During a final meeting aboard the Horizon Asterisk, Daniel addressed the assembled leaders. "We didn't come here looking for conquest or glory. We came to explore, and maybe learn a little along the way. What happened with Kel wasn't planned, but it showed us something important. Sometimes, the best weapon isn't firepower. It's wit, teamwork, and the courage to stand up to those who think they're untouchable." The room erupted in applause, and Lisa raised a glass in a toast. To the future, and to never taking ourselves too seriously. As the celebrations continued, Ryan leaned over to Jacob and whispered, still waiting for someone to ask where we got that escape pod design. Jacob smirked. "Maybe next time, we'll tell them it's a limited edition. Gold-plated, of course." For humanity, the adventure had been unforgettable. a reminder that even in the vastness of space, humor and humility could change the course of history. And though the galaxy still held countless mysteries, one thing was certain. The story of Emperor Cal Vorn would be told for generations, as a lesson and as a laugh. The fall of Emperor Cal Vorn marked the beginning of a new era for the galaxy. With his empire dismantled and his reign reduced to a series of memes, the liberated planets worked together to rebuild their societies. The humans from the US Horizon played a key role in this transition, offering guidance and support while ensuring that no single power could dominate again. Captain Daniel Carter stood on the observation deck of the Horizon, watching as ships from different worlds gathered around the remains of the Celestial Throne. The once mighty flagship now served as a symbol of unity rather than oppression. Its opulent decorations had been stripped away, replaced by practical upgrades designed to foster collaboration among the Coalition's members. "It's strange," Lisa Harper said, joining him at the viewport. "A few weeks ago, we were just explorers charting unknown space. Now we're diplomats helping to reshape an entire galaxy." Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "Strange, but not bad. If anything, it shows how much influence simple actions can have. We didn't plan to overthrow an emperor, but we adapted when the situation called for it." Lisa smiled faintly, and let's not forget how much laughter helped us along the way. I don't think Cal ever realized he was being taken down by jokes and compliments. Ryan Scott walked in, carrying a tablet filled with updates from the engineering teams. "Speaking of jokes, you'll never guess what happened to Cal's escape pod. Turns out, someone turned it into a museum exhibit. They're calling it the throne that failed." Jacob Myers burst out laughing as he entered behind Ryan. "Seriously, what's next? A theme park ride?" "Don't give them ideas," Ryan replied, grinning. "Though I wouldn't mind seeing a roller coaster shaped like that thing." Despite the humor, the mood aboard the Horizon was one of quiet pride. The crew knew they had accomplished something remarkable, not through force or intimidation, but through ingenuity and teamwork. Their success proved that even in the face of overwhelming spectacle, substance and sincerity would always win out. Back on the Celestial Throne representatives from across the galaxy convened to draft a charter for the new coalition. The document emphasized equality, cooperation, and mutual respect, values that stood in stark contrast to Cal's authoritarian rule. Each planet contributed ideas, creating a blueprint for a future where no one world held all the power. During a break in the discussions, Torin, the rebel leader Jacob had met earlier, approached the human delegation. "We owe you more than words can express," he said, shaking Daniel's hand firmly. "You showed us that tyranny isn't invincible, and that standing up to it doesn't always mean fighting." Daniel smiled modestly. "We just gave you the tools. You did the hard work. Remember, freedom is yours to protect now." Torin nodded, his expression resolute. "We won't forget, and neither will our children. Stories of your courage and your wit will be told for generations." As the coalition took shape, the humans prepared to continue their mission of exploration. Though they had become legends in this part of the galaxy, they remained humble about their role in its transformation. For them, the adventure was far from over. There were still countless stars to chart and civilizations to meet. On their final day aboard the Celestial Throne the crew gathered for a farewell toast. Lisa raised her glass first. To unexpected friendships, unforgettable lessons, and the power of laughter. To thinking outside the box, Ryan added, raising his own glass, or throne, in this case. To finding strength in unity, Jacob chimed in, smiling. Daniel looked around at his team, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. And to proving that sometimes, the smallest spark can light the biggest change. As the Horizon departed, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed by their presence, the crew reflected on everything they had experienced. They had faced absurdity, embraced humor, and emerged victorious. Not because they were stronger or smarter than anyone else, but because they understood the value of connection and creativity. In the end, humanity's greatest achievement wasn't defeating an empire. It was showing the galaxy that even in the darkest times, hope and laughter could pave the way to a brighter future. The *US Horizon* drifted through the vast expanse of space, its crew reflecting on the whirlwind of events that had unfolded. Though they were returning to their original mission of exploration, the memory of their encounter with Emperor Calvorn lingered like a shared joke among old friends. The absurdity of it all, the Golden Throne escape pod, the blinking crown, the laser cannon that turned into a light show, had become part of their ship's lore. Back in the briefing room, Captain Daniel Carter gathered his team for one last debriefing before resuming their journey. "This mission wasn't what we expected," he began, leaning against the table. "But it reminded me of something important. Sometimes, the most unlikely tools can make the biggest difference." Ryan Scott smirked, tapping his fingers on the surface of the table. "You mean, like turning an emperor's ego into his own downfall?" That was some top-tier trolling right there. Lisa Harper laughed softly, shaking her head. "It wasn't just his ego. It was the way we worked together, and how the rebels stepped up when they saw an opening. We gave them hope, and they ran with it." Jacob Myers nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, and let's not forget how much fun we had along the way. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard during a mission." Daniel smiled, glancing at each member of his crew. "That's what made this unique. We didn't fight fire with fire. We fought arrogance with humility, fear with laughter, and oppression with unity. Those are lessons worth carrying forward." As the meeting ended, the crew dispersed to their stations, ready to chart new courses and explore uncharted systems. But even as they prepared to leave behind the region where they'd toppled an empire, reminders of their adventure followed them. Holographic messages from liberated planets poured in, thanking the humans for their role in freeing the galaxy from tyranny. One message came from Torin, now a leader in the coalition. His face appeared on the main screen, smiling warmly. "Captain Carter, your actions have inspired countless worlds. You showed us that courage doesn't always look like strength. It can also look like kindness, humor, and trust. Thank you for believing in us." Daniel replied graciously. "Thank you for having the courage to rise up. Remember, the future belongs to all of you." Another transmission arrived from a group of artists who had created murals depicting humanity's role in the rebellion. In one painting, the Horizon soared triumphantly above a crumbling celestial throne *, while another featured a cartoonish version of Kale tumbling out of his escape pod. Lisa couldn't help but laugh when she saw it. "Looks like we're officially art history now." The crew spent hours reviewing these messages, each one reinforcing the impact of their actions. For Ryan, it was a reminder that engineering wasn't just about fixing machines. It was about solving problems in creative ways. For Lisa, it reinforced the importance of communication and connection. And for Jacob, it highlighted the power of grassroots movements and ordinary people standing up for what's right. As the days passed, the Horizon ventured deeper into unexplored territory. The crew encountered strange phenomena, curious alien species, and breathtaking vistas, but nothing quite matched the drama of their recent adventure. Still, they carried its lessons with them, applying humor and diplomacy whenever tensions arose. One evening, as the ship drifted near a nebula glowing with vibrant colors, the crew gathered in the observation lounge to relax. Lisa brought out a bottle of sparkling cider, a favorite tradition aboard the Horizon and poured glasses for everyone. "To the past," she said, raising her glass, "and to everything it taught us." "To the present," Ryan added, grinning, "because laughing at ridiculous emperors never gets old." "And to the future," Daniel finished, his voice steady but warm. "Wherever it takes us." They clinked their glasses together, the sound echoing softly in the quiet room. Outside the viewport, the nebula shimmered like a cosmic canvas, full of possibilities yet unseen. In the end, humanity's greatest victory hadn't been defeating Emperor Kel Vorn or dismantling his empire. It had been proving that progress didn't always require weapons or force. It could come from wit, teamwork, and the simple act of seeing the absurdity in life. As the Horizon sailed onward, its crew knew they would carry those values with them, no matter where their journey led next. The US Horizon continued its journey into the unknown, leaving behind the remnants of the Galactic Empire and the memory of Emperor Kel Vorn. Though the galaxy they had helped reshape was far away now, its lessons stayed with the crew like a guiding star. Each new discovery reminded them of how much could be achieved when people worked together, and how much laughter could lighten even the darkest moments. One day, as the ship approached an uncharted star system, Chief Engineer Ryan Scott called Captain Daniel Carter to the bridge. "You're going to want to see this," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. On the main screen, a massive structure loomed in orbit around a distant planet. It was shaped like a ring, glowing faintly with blue light, and seemed ancient yet advanced. The crew exchanged curious glances, wondering what secrets it might hold. "Looks like someone left us a welcome mat," Lisa Harper joked, leaning forward in her seat. "Should we knock first?" Daniel chuckled but quickly turned serious. "Let's proceed carefully. We don't know if it's abandoned or guarded." As the Horizon drew closer, sensors revealed intricate carvings covering the surface of the ring. They depicted scenes of cooperation, figures from different species working side by side, building cities, planting crops, and exploring space. It was a stark contrast to the dominance and control that had defined Kel's empire. Jacob Myers studied the images intently. "It's like a message, a reminder of what's possible when people come together." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "Or maybe it's a challenge. Are we smart enough to learn from history instead of repeating it?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Well, if there's another emperor hiding inside, I'm grabbing the popcorn." After hours of careful analysis, the crew determined the structure was safe to investigate. A boarding party, led by Daniel, stepped onto the ring and found themselves surrounded by holographic projections. These showed stories of civilizations rising and falling, not through war or conquest, but through choices made in times of crisis. Some chose unity and thrived. Others succumbed to greed and collapsed. Standing amidst the glowing images, Daniel felt a deep sense of responsibility. "This place feels like a gift," he said quietly. "A reminder that our actions matter, not just for us, but for everyone who comes after." Back aboard the Horizon the crew discussed what they had seen. For Lisa, it reinforced the importance of communication. For Ryan, it highlighted the value of creativity in solving problems. And for Jacob, it underscored the power of ordinary individuals to shape the future. That night, as the ship sailed deeper into the cosmos, the crew gathered in the observation lounge once more. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, each one a potential story waiting to unfold. "To the adventures ahead," Lisa said, raising her glass. "May they teach us as much as the ones behind." "To finding humor in the unexpected," Ryan added, smirking. "Because let's face it, emperors with blinking crowns aren't exactly common." "And to remembering," Daniel concluded, his tone thoughtful but warm, "that no matter where we go, the best tools we have are courage, kindness, and the ability to laugh, even at ourselves." They clinked their glasses together, the sound soft but resonant in the quiet room. Beyond the ship, the universe waited, vast, mysterious, and full of possibilities. In the end, humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons. It was its resilience, its curiosity, and its capacity to connect with others. Whether facing absurd dictators or ancient artifacts, the crew of the Horizon carried these values with them, knowing they would guide them wherever the stars led next. As the ship disappeared into the depths of space, its journey served as a testament to something timeless, that even in the face of uncertainty, hope and humor could light the way.